in 57 seconds and then had a slip up at the end. It's Bo Brock. It's some allergies going on the other end. It's Alex Clancy. It's Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Man, what a brutal ending to a pretty impressive first half for the Arizona Cardinals. They give up the Hail Mary to, I almost said Hail Murray there, but Baker Mayfield connects Donovan Peoples-Jones to cut into the lead in the Arizona Cardinals. Despite scoring on each and every possession that they had the ball in this game, they're up 23-14, less than, it's a two-score game. But the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think that the score now doesn't indicate how dominant they were in that first half, Alex.
I mean, it seems like they just kind of were cruising. 2 turnovers allowed them to get, and then, a short field allowed them to get into Matt Prater's range a couple times. And they just thought, up 14-0, 17-20, 23-20, they're going to be content with that. The offense didn't look great after the turnovers. Happy to be, in the range of Matt Prater, 51-yarder, 33-yarder, respectively. All in all, it was a good half. The defense looked great up until that, lapse in judgment right there at the end of the half.
Right, yeah. Budda Baker, Marco Wilson, I think Byron Murphy was in the vicinity as well, and you just can't have that happen. Just knock the ball down. He didn't even high point it. I mean, it hit him in the chest. That can't happen. That just can't happen if you're an NFL defense. But outside of that, the Arizona Cardinals defense looked very good. They had just given up one real scoring drive the entire first half, and they were making life a nightmare for Baker Mayfield. I was kind of curious that Kevin Stefanski came out of the gates, didn't run the ball early on. The successful drive that they had was on the legs of Kareem Hunt. I got to expect that they're going to go to the run game when they get the ball again. They don't get the ball to start the second half because the Arizona Cardinals unbelievably have won six coin flips to start a game, and they'll get the ball coming out at halftime. So another chance to put points up for this offense. That's all they've done so far. But you're right. They did get a little stagnant with some big opportunities to maybe add some more points in that first half, but you can't really get too greedy if you're a Cardinals fan.
No, 39 yards rushing in the first half against a team that averages 187 yards on the ground, 12 total touchdowns between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Obviously, Nick Chubb is out. Kareem Hunt is hobbled too. He was questionable coming into the game, so I think he's on a snap count, which kind of makes his numbers look a little bit better than they are through one half of football. But yeah, I mean, the offense was humming, and then they just decided to kind of run the ball and then throw on third down and not make mistakes. I think this team needs to, like we've said at halftime pretty much of every game, go step on the throat of this opponent.
Yeah.
You have them, even though that Hail Mary happened, you're on the road, you're up 9 points, you won the first half, okay? They were on the field for 17 minutes of a possible 30, which is fantastic. Now it's in Kyler's hands. Let's not take the ball out of Kyler's hands as much as they did once they went up, 2 or 3 scores in the first half. Keep the ball moving down the field, whether it be checkdowns or, finding Christian Kirk in the middle of the zone defense. Move the ball down the field and not just run it and hope that the clock runs out with you having more points than the other team.
Yeah, you have to wonder if maybe the absence of Cliff Kingsbury is showing up in the red zone, at least as far as the play calling is concerned. There might have been an opportunity late in that half for DeAndre Hopkins. I know he was visibly upset that Kyler didn't hit him, but at the same time, you get points. Oh, man, it's just Matt Prater is a vision, just hitting on all his field goal attempts and continuing to put the pressure on the Browns. It's just interesting when they can find, lucky, whatever you want to call it at the end of the half, when they can connect on that, it just changes this game. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals dominated this thing for 29 minutes and 57 seconds, and then they get, with 3 seconds left, they get that Hail Mary. It's just it's unreal. That's how football goes, though.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins with one of the moves of his career. I think DeAndre Hopkins, the best move he ever made, actually catching the ball and then running after, was the double spin move in overtime on Monday Night Football a few years ago. Can't remember who they were. It was either Sunday Night or Monday Night Football, and he had 2 Chris Berman, screech screams back to back. This one rivaled that with a little dipsy doodle around into the end zone. Christian Kirk with a great route run to the back of the end zone where he toe tapped, got in. That was a great throw by Kyler. But we haven't seen a whole lot from Kyler throwing the ball down the field. He had the chunk play to DeAndre Hopkins where he threw the ball a little bit late. Let's see what happens in the second half. They'll start to hum again, and I hope that they can just go down and score a touchdown, go up 16, go up 2 scores, 2-point conversions, and then be like, okay, they regained control. Because if there's a 3-and-out or there's a turnover, we're going to be looking at a very different second half and very different game than what we thought through a quarter and a half of the first half.
Yeah, you don't want to waste this opportunity when you're facing the most adversity that your team has, down as many big players, Chandler Jones, Rodney Hudson, your head coach, your play callers out, and to come out of the gates like they did and to go up like they did 20-7, and then that kind of slowly slip out of your hands, that would be a brutal loss. I don't care if your back's against the wall. I don't care what, the other variables are in it. You had an opportunity at a W, so they really do. I completely agree with you. Not just get points, but get a touchdown here in the first drive of the second half. That'd be huge for this Cardinals offense, which, things got pretty stagnant in the first half, not to just poo-poo what they were able to do early on.
Right. And I mean, you look at let's look big picture for 30 seconds. Alex Clancy, Bo Brock, thanks for hanging out with us during our halftime show that we do every halftime of every Cardinals game. But big picture right now, the Packers won, the Bucks won, and the Rams won.
Yeah.
So if the Cardinals win, they'll still be a game up against the elite of the NFC. And if the Cardinals lose, they're right smack dab in the middle of it with the Rams nipping at their heels in the NFC West, even though the Cardinals obviously have the tiebreak because they beat the Rams.
Yeah.
If they can go in and have a solid second half and win a game without Cliff Kingsbury, without Chandler Jones, without Zach Allen, etc., this is going to be without Corey Peters, who was a late add to the COVID list. This is going to be a huge statement win for the Cardinals for sure.
Yeah, and to put things in perspective, this defense has played really good. They had a boneheaded play at the end of the half, but outside of that, they were pretty much, 1 for 5, the Browns were, as far as getting the ball and actually putting points on the board.
Their first third down conversion was the touchdown pass to Peoples-Jones with 5 minutes left in the third.
So if the defense can continue to play well, and they have under Vance Joseph, who's probably relishing coaching a team with an actual quarterback that can play, is huge. But this offense, it's you want to see better snaps from Max Garcia. That's been a big problem so far in the first half. And one thing I want to point out, and I'm not saying it's a big issue, but it's becoming an issue, is Chase Edmonds holding on to the football. He needs to hold on to the ball because obviously when he does, he's dynamic, he's great in space. But now we're seeing the ball in a couple games back to back where it's been put on the turf. It's going to be important as far as ball security in a game like this, because you don't want to give the Browns any extra opportunities, because we've seen so far that they've taken advantage of it. Your back's against the wall. You're still on the road. It's important for the Arizona Cardinals to come out and win this game.
Right. And you look at it, and it's interesting you say that. I'd almost flip it. I'd almost have James Conner take first and second down. Because the thing is body type wise, that's what teams do. Bigger guy, first and second down, scat back, third down, or second down, depending on down and distance after first down. It doesn't have to be Chase Edmonds. It doesn't have to be. It's going to be a split backfield regardless. Where you use them is important, okay? Now, the other thing is Nick Chubb's out. Odell Beckham Jr. is out.
Yeah.
They need to go win this game. This isn't like oh, you know what? They were up a bunch early. They led at halftime. It was a close game. It will be a severe disappointment if the Cardinals fold and lose in the second half.
Yeah, it would be brutal. It'd be brutal. I don't care, how any goodwill that you created at the beginning of the game. It's important to put this game, because when I look at it, and I know that there's been a couple plays that have gone the Browns receivers' direction, but I think that Byron Murphy is a better cornerback than any of these Browns wide receivers are at the catching the football. I think Byron Murphy needs to step up. He almost had his 4th interception of the season. It's the defense. As I said, I'm going to reiterate this, that they had a boneheaded play at the end of the first half, but they played really well. Need to continue to keep their foot on the gas and go after Baker Mayfield. And it will be aided, right out of the gates with an offense getting points right out of the gates to start the second half.
And I mean, yeah, and just another reiteration here. I mean, the coaching staff is doing a great job. They are. I mean, you can't really negate what Vance Joseph, et cetera, are doing. Sean Kugler with the run calls, they're like the third and long, the delayed handoff to Chase Edmonds was a great play call.
It was.
I mean, it's just that's where you catch the opposing defense where they shouldn't be, and you call the right play. And I'm sure it was an RPO for Kyler, and Kyler made the right decision because there was a Grand Canyon that opened up in the middle of the field that allowed Chase Edmonds to get that chunk play. They kind of set the stage for the half. Now, if the Cardinals can score, get a stop, and get the ball back, that's where you want to be, and that'll completely negate that Hail Mary that just happened, which is still kind of inexplicable. That, I mean, it seemed like he just ran around and nobody saw that Donovan Peoples-Jones was standing in the end zone.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's yeah, man, he was wild. I just saw the replay. Yeah, so just erase that, come down, score a touchdown, regain momentum, and go win a football game.
All right. We see all your thoughts. We appreciate everybody tuning in, checking in on the chat as we do each and every game. We're here at halftime talking about what we just witnessed. So far, so good. You know, with the exception of the Hail Mary at the end of the half. Hail Mary, I can't stop from doing that.
You got to stop.
We've got our podcast, the Locked On AZ Cards podcast, will come shortly after the end of the game. It'll be up on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Locked On Arizona Cardinals podcast there. And, of course, wherever you find your podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in at halftime. Let's hope for an Arizona Cardinals win here. Put this thing away in the second half from Cleveland. You guys take care.